Hello everyone, this is Mishan and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to crochet this mini bucket bag using the puff stitch that we're gonna do in rounds. So it's very simple and I know that you're gonna make a lot of this in no time. So I hope you watch until the end of this video. So with this particular project, you don't need a lot of yarn. You will only need a small amount, and you can use your scrap yarns or any premium yarns that you have. In here, I'll be using the fingering weight acrylic yarn, which is called Lanalon, and you can buy this locally if you're here in the Philippines, but if you're not, you can use whatever yarn that you use. If you use the thicker yarn, you're gonna of course get a bigger size of this project. To start, we're gonna make a magic ring, and to make a magic ring, you're gonna wrap the yarn around your two fingers with your left hand if you're right-handed. So you're gonna chain one, and this does not count as a stitch. This will just bring up the yarn. And to make the first puff stitch, we're gonna yarn over and then pull up a loop, and we're gonna do this 2 more times. So yarn over, insert into the ring, and we now have our second. We're actually like doing a half double crochet loosely, very loosely, to make the puff stitch. So after that, we're going to yarn over and pull through all these loose loops, and then we're going to chain one. So we just made our first puff stitch, and we're going to repeat that until we have 6 puff stitches in total. So we're going to yarn over and then make our first loose half double crochet, 2 and 3, yarn over and pull all those loose loops, chain 1, and then we're gonna keep repeating this until we have 3 more. 2, 3, and then chain 1. So we now have 3. So this is what it looks like once you have a total of 6 puff stitches. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to pull this yarn tail, and then we're going to work a slip stitch on top of the very first puff stitch that we have made. So now our first round is done. As you can see, we have all 6 puff stitches, and this is the same with what I did in this project, but this one is made of 4-ply Indophil yarn. Now the next round is we're going to chain 1 to bring up the yarn, and then into the gap or the space between the 2 puff stitches, we're going to work 2 puff stitches. So we're adding an increase to this round, and we're gonna do 1 more. 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna chain 1. So we'll be repeating that until we have 12 puff stitches in total. So we're gonna go into the space between the 2 puff stitches, and then we're gonna make 2. puff stitches. There. So keep repeating that until we get back around. So we're now going to work our last 2 puff stitches into the last space between the 2 puff stitches. And then once we get back around, we should have a total of 12 puff stitches, and then slip stitch on top of the first puff stitch made to end the round. So as you can see, it's still flat because we're adding an increase, but once we stop increasing, that's when you see that it's going to take a shape of a cylinder or a dome. So we're going to chain 1 to bring up the yarn, and then we're going to add an increase into every second space in between those puff stitches. So as you can see, if you take a look closely, there's a gap in between 2 puff stitches, so that is where we're gonna work our first puff stitch, and then into every second space, that is where we're gonna do our increase, or 2 puff stitches. 1, 2, 3. So that is what we're going to repeat around. So the sequence is 1 in the next space, and then 2 or increase into the next puff stitches. So 1 here, and then 2 in the next. There. So we're gonna repeat this until we get back around. So now we are on our last space, and this is where you will see the first puff stitch made and the last puff stitch. The sequence should be the same: 1, 2, 1, 2, and then of course once you get to the last space, there should be 2 puff stitches. So if you got back around and you're losing sequence, that means you might have done something wrong in the second round. So you need to go back, and it's just easy to frog it, unlike when you're sewing, right? This is one of the best things about crocheting. You can definitely frog it and do it again. And then once you finish working the increase, then you're gonna work a slip stitch on top of the first puff stitch made. So this is still flat circle base that we're making, and then once you get the desired size for the pouch that you would like, then you can stop working an increase. But if you still would like to keep growing this flat circle, then you just have to work an increase into the third space. Say I'm going to work an increase again. So what I'm going to do is, okay, let me repeat. So after chaining 1, I haven't chained yet, then I'm gonna work my first puff stitch here, and then into the next I'm gonna work another puff stitch. Now into every third, that is where I'm gonna work my increase. So meaning if I want to keep growing this flat circle, then all I have to do is remember the sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4th round into every 3rd, 5th round into every 4th, and so on. But since I want to make a small bucket bag, so I will stop increasing at this point, and I will just work 1 puff stitch into each space, or into each gap here. So that's what I'll be doing. So that way I will have the same amount of stitches as I get to the height that I want. So I will just keep working 1 puff stitch into each space until I get back around. Alright, so once you get to the very last space, which is between the first puff stitch made and the last puff stitch, so we're gonna do our last puff stitch here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we will be repeating round 4 until we get to the height that we want. So you can leave an allowance. Of course you will be adding the edging for this, so I will be doing 3 rounds of 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then work a crab stitch at the end. So from here on, just repeat round 4 until you get to the length that you would like. So you can also turn this one into a pencil case or a hook case if you want, or even a bottle holder. You just need to work an increase. Instead of doing just 1 puff stitch into every stitch around, you still are going to work the flat circle pattern in order to get to the desired flat circle base first. So I'm going to show you what I will be doing next after repeating round 4 a couple of times. Also, I would like to add that once you finish the round, and you see there we have chain 1 here, so in order to hide that, we can work our last puff stitch by inserting the hook under that. 2, 3. So if you do that, you won't see any traces of join there. And then we chain 1 and always end around working a slip stitch on top of the chain of the first puff stitch made. So I need a few more rounds to get the height I want, and then after that we're gonna work single crochets in round. Alright, so now we're gonna work 3 rounds of single crochets after getting to the height that you want for the puff stitches in round. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna chain 1 and then 1 single crochet on top of this puff stitch, 1 single crochet in there, so 1 single crochet into every stitch around. After that, we're gonna form like a small hat, but what we're gonna do next is we're going to make the fold. So this is the fold that we're gonna do, and we're gonna chain 50 to 60 chains to make the handle for this mini bucket bag. So we're gonna chain 60. So after chaining 60, if you think that this isn't thick enough, you can work slip stitches. On the second chain from hook, you can work a slip stitch into each stitch. Anyway, with this one, I still have a few yarns left, so it only needs a small amount of yarn to make this mini bucket bag. Alright, so and this is how it looks like once done. So all you need to do is to hold this too, so that this will make the handle, and then you push this one to open it up. So that's how easy it is to make a mini bucket bag. So you can insert the string into the hole of the last round of puff stitches, or you can do it along the middle of the hole of the single crochet is in round. So you can either do this or do that. Anyway guys, I hope you liked the video that I showed you for today. So please do subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of tutorials that I plan to show to you, including making some small souvenirs. And of course, like our page Crochet Tutorials by Sharon Lee on FB. And also thank you so much, because I am about to hit 100k subscribers. So thank you so much for supporting, and for those who haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye.